What's up, everyone? And today I'm bringing a deck profile on my Super Heavy Samurais. Now, Super Heavy Samurai is a very interesting deck to where some of the monsters they attack with their defense, which is pretty cool because some of them have some pretty high defense, and it's also a very unique deck to where you get more advantage the less spells and traps you play. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. First off, I run 3 Super Heavy Samurai Wagon. Wagon is definitely one of your best monsters and easily more or less like one of your starters. When this card is normal or special summoned, you can change its battle position. Or this card can attack while it's in face up to defense position, and if it does, apply its defense for damage calculation. That's how a lot of the Super Heavy Samurais work, although not all of them. And you can change this card from face up defense position to attack position, and if you do, you can add 1 Super Heavy Samurai monster from your deck to your hand. So it's your searcher in a way. And that's really good because there are a lot of the super heavies that can equip 2 monsters from the hand or special summon themselves, which is pretty cool. Also run 3 super heavy samurai scales. Scales, if your opponent controls 2 or more monsters and you control no monsters, you can special summon this from the hand. And if this card is normal special summoned, you can try a level 4 lower super heavy samurai monster in your graveyard, except scales, summon it in defense position. So the Link 1 Scarecrow can actually summon a monster from the graveyard, so essentially what you could do is you could normal this, or use an effect to get into the graveyard, link it to the Scarecrow, special that, and then that will special summon another monster, like Samurai Wagon, for example. Next, I run 3 Super Heavy Samurai Trumpeteer. Trumpeteer can essentially special summon stuff from the hand if you have no spells and traps in the graveyard. So this is why I like this deck kind of pays not having spells and traps in the graveyard, because you can do a lot more and activate a lot more effects. So I'll run any spells or any traps. It's all monsters. And if this card is tributed for the tribute summon of a Super Heavy Samurai monster and sent to the graveyard, and you have no spell trap card in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. So it can also kind of recur itself, which is pretty good. Also run 3 Super Heavy Samurai Thief. Super Heavy Samurai Thief, like Trumpeteer, can special itself. And like Trumpeteer, it will lock you into Super Heavy Samurai, which really isn't too much of a downside. But if you can avoid using it, I definitely would. Also run 3 Super Heavy Samurai Battle Ball. If all monsters you control are Super Heavy Samurai monsters and you have no spell trap card in your graveyard, you target one face-up monster opponent controls that has a level, send both it and this card from the field to the graveyard. And if you do, spell summon from your extra deck 1 Super Heavy Samurai Synchro monster whose level equals the total original levels of the 2 monsters in the graveyard. So if you send a level 4 monster from your opponent's side of the field, then you can Synchro summon a level 5. Or not level 5, level 6. Also run the 1 Big Benkei. Yes, Benkei is big. It's got 35 defense, and of course you can attack with while it's in defense position. Also run 3 Super Heavy Samurai Soul Peacemaker. Peacemaker, you can equip it to a monster or Super Heavy Samurai monster you control, and then you can tribute the monster you control to special summon a Super Heavy Samurai monster from your deck. So you can use it to get the wagon, you can use it to get scales, it really depends. Also run 3 Super Heavy Samurai Soul Piercer. Soul Piercer, when it's sent to the graveyard, it is a searcher for the deck. You can add 1 Super Heavy Samurai monster from your deck to your hand. And like the other one, you can target a Super Heavy Samurai monster you control and equip this card from your hand to your side of the field to that target. Same for Soul Horns, can be attached to a Super Heavy Samurai monster. Although this one has a different effect too. It's more or less for like battle phase. While this card is equipped to a monster, by this card effect, you can special summon this card, and this card can also make a second attack during each battle phase, or at least the monster it's equipped to. Then you got Samurai Fist, which is kind of like a Super Heavy Samurai hand trap in a way, although not really a good one. It's kind of iffy and how it can be used. Samurai Fist, during your main phase, if a Super Heavy Samurai monster is destroyed by an opponent's monster by this battle phase, quick effect, you can immediately have this effect resolves, Synchro summon 1 Synchro monster using monsters you control, including this card. And if you have no spell traps in the graveyard, you can target Super Heavy Samurai Synchro monster you control, reduce its level by 1, and if you do, spell summon this card from your graveyard. So it's a little bit of recursion as well. Also run the 1 Samurai Helper. Samurai Helper has a quick effect. You can discard this card, target Super Heavy Samurai monster you control, other than the battling monster. The battling monster gains defense equal to that monster's defense. So essentially you can absorb defense from another monster. Also run the 1 Gauntlet. Definitely the weaker out of all of them. It's a little bit of a defense boost which can come up, but it's definitely not the first card I'd run. Next I run 3 Droll and Lockbird. It's really only hand trap I run just because how Superheavy Samurais work. Samurais are an interesting deck, but I wouldn't say it's the most competitive deck, but it can steal a win here and there. But Drone Lockbird, I think, is probably the best hand trap in the game. Of course, you can also maybe grind Nibiru. That's also an option, but Nibiru is not going to be good against every deck. It's not going to work against Floowandereeze. It may work against Sword Soul, depending on their hand. Most decks, I feel, can play under Nibiru. But there's not a lot of decks that can play under a card like Drone Lockbird. Even if they can, it's going to limit what they can do. Also run the one Pankratrops because I focus on more of a going second build because Superheavy Samurais, it doesn't really put up any negations. But it can put up beefy monsters in defense position and attack them with their defense. So why not just run a bunch of going second cards? Of course, we can't run stuff like Dark Hole or Raigeki because we don't want spells and traps in our graveyard. So what's the other best option? Kaijus. I run 3 of the Dust Kaiju. 3 Radiant, 3 Gamma Seal, and the 1 Sticky String Kaiju. Essentially, this can get rid of all of these annoying boss monsters, like if they have a Phoenix Enforcer, or let's say a Baron de Fleur, or whatever is like just the most problematic card, you just get rid of it. Or in the case of a Marine Cess deck, you can basically just kill their whole deck. Definitely a really good have that to help kind of like deal with your opponent's board since you're going second. Moving on to the extra deck. I run 3 Superheavy Samurai Scarecrow. Scarecrow is a Link 1, although it cannot be used as Link material, which is unfortunate. While you have no spell trap cards in your graveyard, you take no battle damage from attacks involving this card, so you don't have to worry about the fact that it has 0 attack. And then you discard 1 monster, target a Superheavy Samurai monster in your graveyard, spell summon it to your zone this card points to in defense position. So that's definitely really good. You know, it's essentially a monster. It's a Link 1 monster reborn. Although you have to discard, which that's really not a downside. Also run the 1 Crystron Halqifibrax, as well as Phoenix, Unicorn, Apollosa, and Access Code to help close the game out. Assuming I don't go into the Trumpeteer and the other high level one, the Samurai Thief. I run 1 Superheavy Samurai Swordmaster Musashi. Musashi, when this card is Synchro Summon, you can also target machine monster in your graveyard, add to your hand. So it's a little bit of recursion, and if you have a spell trap in your graveyard, you cannot normal special summon it, which that's not really a downside because we don't run any spell traps. And like some of the Superheavy Samurais, it can attack with defense. I also run 1 Ogre Sutendoji. This also has a cool effect too. While you have no spell trap cards in your graveyard, you destroy all spell trap cards you put on control, so it's like a Harpy's Feather Duster in a way. Also run the 1 Stealth Ninja. Stealth Ninja, if you have no spell trap cards in your graveyard, you can have this card attack and original defense only on this turn, which we don't run any, so that's fine. But this card can attack directly this turn. And once per turn during the next standby phase after this card is destroyed by card effect sent to graveyard, you can spell summon this card. Also run 1 Susanoo. I don't know how to pronounce that. If you have no spell trap cards in your graveyard, you can target 1 spell trap card in your opponent's graveyard, set it to your side of the field, but banish it when it leaves the field. So that can be pretty cool. Like, let's say there's an imperm in your opponent's graveyard, or a droplet, or something like that. You essentially take it and use it for yourself, which is pretty cool. Also run the 1 Superheavy Samurai Steam Train King. Don't know where the design for this one came, but it's a train. A Superheavy Samurai train. Although it requires 2 non-tuner Superheavy Samurai monsters. Although it has a cool effect, once per turn you can discard up to 2 cards. Then target that many cards your opponent controls, destroy them. And once per turn, you can banish all spell trap cards from their graveyards. And if you do, inflict 200 damage for your opponent for each card banished. Depending on what you're going against, that could be really fatal. Like if you're going against something like, let's say, Sky Strikers. Let's say they have 10. That's a good amount of damage. Also run the 1 Stardust Charge Warrior. A little bit of draw power. And lastly, 1 Dugaris the Timeless. You can really swap this out for a Tornado, or if you want to run a Scythe with a Tornado Dragon and Artifact Scythe, that's also an option. But I feel like that's more for if you want to go, like maybe go in first variants. I feel this deck's just better going second. And that's it for my Superheavy Samurais now. What do you think of this deck? Think it's a pretty cool deck? Let me know in the comments and I'll see you in the next video I make. Bye.